Weather's pretty nasty and we're going to be hauling in the trough, so watch your asses, okay?
The Emmy Award-winning show Deadliest Catch showed real-life fishing events, but the show was not easy to watch. The group had to stay in ice water for days. Alaskan crab fishing is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Still, a lot of these famous cast members love the thrill and the fun. Sadly, most of them never made it through the risks. Let's go through a list of some deaths on the show that killed off cast members. 14. Nick Mavar. Nick was in the show for almost 20 years. A lot of people liked his look on Deadliest Catch. He worked as a deckhand in the Northwest and was in a few seasons. Till he quit being a crew member, he was on the show more than 90 times. Nick didn't choose to leave. He had to leave because of an accident. He had a heart attack while working at a dry dock. Before the doctors got there, he fell off a ladder and hit his head on the dry dock. Nick was in a lot of pain and had to be flown to the hospital. When they got there, they found that his appendix had burst. He got treatment right away. During the course, the doctors found something else wrong. Nick had a tumor in his stomach that was cancerous. Because of his illness, he could no longer play Deadliest Catch. He left the show. A spokesman for the Bristol Bay Borough Police Department said Nick had died on June 13, 2024. The man died of natural causes after being taken to Alaska's Kenai Medical Center. There were no clues about how he died, but his health problems started when he fell on Deadliest Catch. There have been dangerous events in the series. It has caused the deaths of several group members. During the making of the Discovery Channel reality TV show, captains and crew members have died. When it first came out in 2005, Deadliest Catch showed how crab fishers live at sea. They were ready to take on the Bering Sea because they had fishing boats with them. They go outside when it's time to fish for snow crabs and Alaskan king crabs. As you might guess, it's not a game for kids. These skilled fishermen have to deal with dangerous weather and storms. They sometimes have to fight through huge waves, and some of them unfortunately never make it out alive. Let's look at some other people from the group who died tragically. 13. Kai Hamek. Kai may not have been on TV for a long time, but his story on Deadliest Catch moved a lot of people. Because he loved the water, he followed his dream and became a fisherman. He likes to try new things and work hard, and he has dealt with tough situations. It wasn't something he did as a child because that's what his family did. He chose to go to the Bering Sea because it interested him. He didn't care that the job was dangerous. Kai became a part of Deadliest Catch when he became a new crew member on the FV Patricia Lee. The Patricia Lee wasn't one of the show's most well-known boats, but it was fast and tough. It was the hardest test Kai had ever been taken. He learned how to fish from more experienced fishermen while working in crazy winds, cold decks, and rough seas. Movies were taken of the whole thing. He didn't have many years of experience, but his hard work earned him respect. Kai would do anything to get the job done, even if it meant getting dirty. It was a sad month in September 2021. Kai got hurt badly while on deck while crab fishing in Alaska. Sadly, the accident killed the person. Even though the crew and medical staff on site tried to save him, he passed away. He was around 30 years old. It was terrible for the crew. Other fishers talked about how happy he was. He always had a smile on his face and never whined about how hard his job was. People saw his death and remembered how dangerous the job was. Being killed by Kai showed them that anyone could be hurt, even the youngest and strongest crew member. Kai only had a short time on Deadliest Catch, but people still remember him. Derek Seabold is number 12. He was only 22 years old. He was the youngest person on the team of the destination. Even though he was young, he worked like an old fisherman. He grew up in Washington State hearing stories about the river and how brave people had to be to live there. But he knew that the trip he was about to take would be the last one for his crew. He wasn't interested in fishing for the money or fame when he started out. The life, the people, and the way the job was set up motivated him. His friends said he was eager to learn, quick to adapt, and never worried about a long, cold night on deck. He liked to be alone. People really liked how he took care of his gear, watched the weather, and checked on his crew. He was one of 6 guys who worked on the destination on November 2, 2017. In the Bering Sea, the crew's ship had to deal with splashes of freezing water and ice building. There was a place many miles away from the ship that ships often end up being eaten by other ships during these kinds of events. A lot of heavy ice built up on top of their ship, making it top-heavy. Derek and the rest of his crew were stuck. They were in a crash, and no one lived. It was too late for Coase when he got to where the guards were. On the radio, there was only quiet and wind when someone called. Pieces of the ship were found, but no one was still alive. The death was very sad for Derek's family, friends, and fishing partners. He was new to life at sea, but he knew how to fish well. He took a chance on his life to do what he chose. A lot of people in the fishing community said his name with a mix of sadness and pride. They knew Derek worked hard at his job. It was sad that it killed him. 11. Blake Painter. Blake Painter's dead body was found in his Astoria, Oregon, home. The Clatsop County Sheriff's Office said he had died on May 25, 2018. His sister also wrote on Instagram that the story was true. She wrote, "My brother Nick died. I've never had to go through something so hard. Please hold your family and friends close. It was terrible. There was a lot of talk about his death on the internet, which led the Discovery Channel to talk about it. We are very sorry for Nick's family and friends' loss during this sad time. Everyone was interested in hearing more about what killed him. Reporters said the cops found him after Blake's friend called to ask where he was. Blake hadn't talked in days, and he wanted to make sure Blake was okay. The cops arrived and found him with a lot of different things around him, but they didn't think anyone was trying to hurt him. After tests, it was found that the substances contained a number of illegal drugs, such as heroin and meth. A police officer found a small pipe in Blake's underwear. There was news about his arrest while he was still alive months before he died. He is said to have been caught smoking something illegal while driving by a police officer. The authorities looked at his records and final test when they made their final reports. Their report said that he died of an accident. Blake wasn't on Fame's Deadliest Catch. It was his life's work. He started crabbing when he was 13 years old. Often he went on boat trips with his dad and joined the group. He learned how the business worked and became very good at it. He became a captain as he got older and stayed in that job until he died. In 2006, he was in Deadliest Catch and was the captain of the FV Maverick. He was the youngest captain in the show's history. In the second and third seasons, he was in 10 shows. Like the other people on the team, he loved his job, but he would hate it sometimes. I hate longlining season because it's always the same thing. But the business is great. You can make money quickly when the fishing is good. A lot of people make $1,000 a day. Besides the busy fishing season, he had to deal with tough weather. He got hurt even though he was an expert crab fisherman. He sadly died a few days before his body was found at home with what might have been drugs on it. 10th place goes to Phil Harris. Phil Harris was the show's most famous and dangerous captain of the Catch. His birthday is December 19, 1956, and he was born in Bothell, Washington. He has always loved the ocean. He knew early on that he wanted to be a fisherman. He worked hard for many years, even though the job could have killed him. He worked his way up from being a deckhand. Phil was always good at being in charge. He was a great fisherman because of this skill and his ability to stay calm when things went wrong. Discovery Channel quickly became interested in G. When the movie Deadliest Catch began, Phil was already the captain of the FV Cornelia Marie. People loved him because he was funny and smart. He was more than just a good boss. He raised his kids well and let them follow their dreams. Phil loved being on the water with his kids, so he often let them work with him on the boat. He was very close to his sons, especially the older one, which added an emotional factor to the show. Fans could see how much he wanted to raise his family, even though the nights on the ocean were scary. Phil didn't give up easily. He fished everywhere, in the snow, rain, or any other weather. He didn't mind the heavy task and liked the long seasons. It was hard on Phil to fish for so many years, though. His stroke was very bad in January 2010 when he was moving crab in Alaska. He was flown to the hospital and started to get better. He was welcomed back on the show, which made everyone happy. They weren't ready for the terrible thing that happened. Sorry to say, Phil died on February 9th, 2010. He was 53 years old. His death had an effect on everyone in the Deadliest Catch family. Fans and other sailors still liked him a lot. People called him the fearless boss because he was always calm and funny, even when things were bad. Phil Harris left something behind on the Cornelia Marie. People who watched him or worked with him will always remember him. Josh, Shane, and Jake were his 3 kids. After he died, one of his kids, Josh, took over. He picked up Deadliest Catch where Phil left off. He was on the show and made sure the family business kept going. Josh first showed up on the show in February 2007. After that, he was in a lot of spin-offs, even while working on a different ship called Time Bandit. He became co-captain of the famous ship Cornelia Marie after his father died. Josh had to step up for the new job. He left Time Bandit and got his license to be a captain. He became the new head of the Harris family and wrote a book with his father, Captain Phil Harris, who was a famous crab hunter and our hero. Before something terrible happened, he was on the show for a while. Not at all. It wasn't another death. Things got really bad for the Harris family. Jake, the younger boy, was kicked off the show by season 8 because he was addicted to drugs. He didn't want to be the center of attention and would sometimes be mean to the crew. Josh was also fired from the show after it came to light that he had abused a 4-year-old child in 1998. This man was caught and found guilty of the crimes. In 1999, he was charged with 1 count of first-degree attack on a child by the Snohomish County prosecutor. He was going to jail for 30 days for each charge and be watched over for 24 months. Along with that, he had to do 150 hours of community service as part of a 24-month course for child offenders. Even though this happened when he was only 16, it followed him around as an adult and ruined his chance to be on Discovery. When the case was made public, there was a huge uproar on the internet. It was up to Discovery to make a formal response. They heard what their fans were saying and said that Josh would not be in any more episodes of the show. Even though Deadliest Catch is no longer working with Josh, he's done well for himself and carried on his father's work. The huge amount of money he has is $800. Tony Lara is number 9. Someone had to take Phil's place before Josh could become a captain. That was Lara Tony. He became the new captain of the Cornelia Marie, and Josh helped out on deck. He was in 6 shows this season, and his last appearance was in the season finale, Mohawks and Madness, Goodness and Gladness. Tony passed away on August 8, 2015. He died of a heart attack in Sturgis, South Dakota, while at a motorcycle event. The news was terrible for his friends and family. Josh Harris was affected by his death. They weren't just friends. They were very close. Tony took care of him like a father after Phil died, and they were never apart. He said some very moving things at his funeral. Tony was always there for the Harris family. He offered to help and give advice. He schooled and taught. He was known for knowing a lot because he came from a long line of crabbers. The man also had a great sense of fun, even when things were bad. Tony made all of us a little better in the end. Everyone who knew him will miss him a lot. He died when he was 50 years old. 8th place goes to Larry O'Grady. Lawrence O'Grady was one of 6 guys who went on the last trip to the destination in February 2017. He stuck by what he said. In the Bering Sea, fishing wasn't just a job, it was a way of life. Larry took the job even though he knew it was dangerous, but there were times when the work was too much. Sometimes all he wanted was the money to support his family and be proud of the work he did. During that trip, Larry was with Charles Glenn Jones, Kevin Hammock, Derek Seibold, and Raymond Winkler. Captain Jeff Hathaway was also on board. There was a good boat at the target, but sometimes even experienced crews get stuck in situations they can't get out of. In the Bering Sea in the winter, ice builds quickly on the deck and gear. It makes the top of the boat heavier than the bottom, which could cause it to flip over. That day, the ice, rough waves, and strong winds all worked together to make the worst thing that could have happened. The ship rolled quickly and out of the blue. There wasn't time for a call, not even an emergency call. After what happened, search teams tried to find Larry and his team. There were no signs of dead bodies. There were only parts of wreckage, a life jacket, and a flashlight found. The ship with Larry and his friends was never found. He was thought to be lost at sea. Larry was more than just a name on a list of lost fishers to his family and friends. He was a person who could talk. It was a terrible loss and a sad time. 7th, Todd Kochutin. Todd Kochutin was one of the youngest people to appear on Deadliest Catch, but he loved fishing long before he became famous. Todd was born in Alaska's Anchorage. He learned to fish with his family and friends as a child. Todd knew about waves and how hard it was to make a living by the ocean. He was a deckhand on Deadliest Catch, which is a very tough job that needs a lot of strength and guts. Living on the deck wasn't for people who were shy. It took strength to deal with cold wind, lifting big crab pots, long hours, and not getting much sleep. He worked hard and was nice to work with. His time on the show gave fans a chance to see who he was. They saw how hard he worked at the dangerous job. He had a lot of respect for the water and overcame problems that most people couldn't. Bad things happened in February 2021, though. Todd died while in search of FV Patricia Lee while fishing. He died on the deck. The news broke the hearts of his family and team. The story of Todd Kochutin shows us how dangerous things really are. He spent his whole life doing something he thought was right. Because of this, he is known not just as a member of the cast, but also as a fisherman who gave his all to the sea. Malin Reese is number 6. Malin Reyes was a member of the Deadliest Catch team. Everyone liked and looked up to him. Montana is a landlocked state where Malin grew up. She doesn't come from a fishing family. It's not easy to fish, especially in Alaska's cold water. So Malin worked hard to prove he could stay alive and work in one of the world's hardest places to work. His job on Deadliest Catch was to work on boats as a deckhand. He was always in front of the camera. His work was liked by people who knew his voice. The deckhands are what make crab fishing possible. They work in ice spray, pull big pots, and keep going even though they are tired. Malin was happy with his job and always came prepared. It's too bad that this all ended in July 2020. Malin had a heart attack at home in Montana when he was only 38 years old. Even though he was taken to the hospital, he never came to and died the next day. His sudden death shocked his fans and fellow fishermen, since he was in great health just days before he died. Malin was like the thousands of other workers whose stories were never told. Fishermen like Malin are in charge of the boats, but leaders are usually the ones who are in the spotlight. His death was a warning of how hard that work was on the body. He was honest and fun. Though he didn't have a long life, his picture on deck pulling gear in the cold Alaskan air will always be a part of Deadliest Catch. Charles Glenn Jones is number 5. Charles Glenn Jones was one of 6 crew members on the fishing boat Destination. This boat isn't usually shown on Deadliest Catch, but the tragedy on this boat was felt by everyone who watches the show. He was born and raised in Alaska. He worked on a number of crab jobs and gained the respect of his team. Captain Jeff Hathaway and crew members Charles Glenn Jones, Kai Hammock, Larry O'Grady, Derek Seibold, and Raymond Winkler set sail for their goal in February 2017. They had to navigate the icy waters of the Bering Sea. All of a sudden, tragedy struck. The team saw that ice had formed on the boat. The waves made the boat less stable. That meant something to the crew. Risk. An overturn. They quickly turned on the emergency beacon for the target, but there was no mayday. A lifeguard and the signal were found floating a few days later, but the rest of the boat had been lost after people looked for the crew for several days. It was said that Charles and the other 6 people were lost at sea. They were thought to be dead for a while, but were never found. The neighborhood of Deadliest Catch was affected by the news. Both captains and fans were sad, and they talked about how hard they worked and how much they loved the sea. Charles Glenn Jones was a partner you could count on. The tragic death of this man shows that even the best fishers can be hurt by the harsh power of the ocean. Justin Keith Tennyson is number 4. In Deadliest Catch, Justin Keith Tennyson worked as a deckhand on the Time Bandit, which is one of the most well-known boats. That's where Justin was born in 1970, and he grew up near the water. For people in his neighborhood, fishing wasn't just a job. It was an art form. Growing up in the harsh conditions of the Bering Sea, he saw firsthand what it was like to work on the water and learned early on about the risks and benefits of the job. Justin had been fishing for years before he joined the show. He was a great choice to be on Deadliest Catch. During the long, hard hours, he worked hard and showed off his skills on the Time Bandit. Justin was strong and skilled, which is what you need to go crab fishing. He had a short time on the show, which was too bad. In February, Justin died in his Homer, Alaska hotel room after coming back from a crab fishing trip. He was only 33 years old. Later, it was found that he had died from consequences of sleep apnea, a condition in which breathing stops dangerously during sleep. People watching were shocked when he died out of the blue. The people on Justin's team talked about how hard he worked and how much fun it was to have him on board. People remember Justin for how hard he worked and how strong he was, even though he wasn't on for many seasons. People who knew and loved Justin learned how quickly things can change. People who work on the ocean will remember him as a member of the Time Bandit family and the greater Deadliest Catch crew who did their best on the job. Third place goes to Jeff Hathaway. Jeff Hathaway was the captain of the FV destination and a skilled crab fisherman. He learned how to fish as a child because he was born and raised near Seattle. He learned to respect the sea, which would have an effect on his work. From there, he worked his way up until he was in charge of his own boat during the Alaskan crab boats for many years. That being said, he did more than just work the deck for Deadliest Catch. The destination didn't show up very often on the show, but Jeff became good friends with some of the fishermen who did, like Captain Sig Hansen and Jake Anderson. They were experts, but they weren't even close. They respected each other and told each other about the dangerous things that could happen in the ocean. On and off screen, Jeff was seen as a good and trustworthy captain. In February 2017, bad things were going to happen. While fishing near St. George Island, the destination flipped over and sank in the Bering Sea. The Coast Guard later found out how heavy the boat was because of all the ice, bait, and gear that was piled up on the decks. Jeff and his whole crew were blown to the bottom of the ocean by a harsh wind. The loss was confirmed by the EPIRB recovery and debris. There were no survivors, and there were no bodies for the family to mourn. Other fishermen were deeply affected by what happened with Destination. People who knew Jeff talked about him with sadness and respect. Someone important to me and a friend were lost, not a boat. In every way he could, this man lived to help other people. Jeff had great parts on the show, and he never got tired of his job. Because he loved adventure, he went on a trip that ended in his death. Ross Jones is number 2. Not every cast member of Deadliest Catch died while they were on the fishing boats. Some of them died while they were on land. A lot of famous cast members were only on the show for a short time because they died so tragically. Ross was one of them. He made a few appearances on the show, including in an episode of season 16. He was a crew member on the FV Saga and was very good at setting sails. He learned how to get ahead of an ice storm by working with other captains in the series. In June 2022, news of his death spread on the internet. Many people thought he died in an accident during the show, but his family chose to keep the cause of death a secret. His craft was very important to him as a young sailor. Ross never did as well at work as he could have. Nick McClacken is number 1. Nick McClacken was a very good deckhand on the TV show Deadliest Catch. People knew him for how quickly he worked on deck and how sharp his wit was. Alaska is where he was born on August 1st, 1987. Nick grew up working as a fisherman. While he was in his teens, he went on boats with his family to crab. His job was to help older fishermen, and they taught him how to be on his own. Fisherman wasn't just a job for him. It gave them a name. Nick was on Deadliest Catch in February 2013, mostly working with leader Wild Bill Wachowski on the Summer Bay. His skills, charm, and sense of fun made him a fan favorite right away. He showed people how hard it was for him to deal with storms, freezing waves, and the hard work of crab catching. He also showed them the fun side of him. He would often diffuse the stress with humor and uplift the spirits of other crew members. Beneath his humorous nature, Nick was dealing with problems. He told everyone that he was having trouble with bad habits and took time off the show to get help. His determination to get help and do better gave strength to many fans who identified with his struggles. As he resumed fishing, he looked intent on changing his life, and most folks wanted him to succeed. Sadly, Nick McLaughlin passed away on 12/27/2020 in Nashville, Tennessee. He was 33 years old. The cause of demise was recorded as a substance overdose. Everyone was shocked by his demise, as many had wished for a different result. Nick is remembered for his ability on the deck, for his big heart, and for being ready to share his story. For those who worked alongside him, he wasn't just a crewmate. He was family. These Deadliest Catch members have passed away early in the television show, including cases where team members suffer a stroke while on duty. In other cases, the entire fishing boats capsized, leading to the demise of cast members. Although these moments are not recorded on the series out of respect for those who lost their lives, several families have lost their loved ones on Deadliest Catch. While the show kept fans entertained for 16 seasons, Deadliest Catch also faced its fair share of disaster. What do you think about the show and the end of these crew members? Type your ideas in the box below. Thanks for seeing. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Watch the other videos on your screen before you leave.